What's up in War Eagle War Report family? It is your guy, Ike Jones. We are back with another edition of the Auburn Express podcast brought to you by the War Report Podcast Network. We are kicking off our series previewing Auburn season, and what better place to start than week one? Week one, Auburn takes on the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. And joining me to talk about all things Alabama A&M is a guy who is no stranger to the HBCU landscape. He is the voice of the HB. Can I call you the voice of the HBCU
I,
sports? You know what
I
I'm
I've
saying?
been that's like my new tag. That's what people call
Okay,
me.
all right, because I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overdo
I'll
it. But
take it though.
listen,
I'll take it.
no stranger to the program. I got Scotty over at Off Script. Scotty, man, how you feeling today?
Man, I feel good, man. I feel good. Football season is here. August. I can
Yeah,
taste the football in the
yeah.
atmosphere. It's nice, man. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
It's definitely right around the corner. And the first test for both of these teams going into this 2024 football season is going to be the Bulldogs heading into Jordan Hare Stadium to face the Auburn Tigers. Um, Before we talk about the game specifically, let's talk about Alabama A&M. Like, what should Auburn fans know about this team? Because I am positive the vast majority of the Auburn fan base doesn't have they couldn't throw a dart on a board and land at what portion of the state Alabama A&M comes from for the vast majority of this fan base. What do they need to know about this team other than they are in the Huntsville area? Because,
You you know what's crazy? I didn't know where Auburn was until Cam Newton played. I didn't even
that's
know
fair.
Auburn. I didn't even know Auburn was in Alabama. Like
Yeah.
because that was a whole thing. Like I was in the military, and my sergeant was an Alabama fan, and they went against Auburn. He was telling me about the Iron Bowl. I didn't even know what that was. And then he was like, and then when Cam Newton made that run, I was like, oh, they in Alabama? I didn't
Yeah.
even know. So yeah. But anyway, so Auburn fans, y'all ain't special. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't even know where y'all are.
Yeah,
But
listen, it's that's fair. That's fair.
you know what I'm saying? So, but the thing about this team is Connor Maynard's probably one of the longest tenured coaches in the SWAC at this point in time. He's been there about 7 to 8 years with the
Okay.
program. Has won a championship. People give an asterisk because it was in the spring. You know what I'm saying? So you only play like 4 games, but
Right.
champion's a champion. So, and he's an offensive minded guy. He's
Mm.
played in the Arena League. He's been the stunt double for Willie Beeman in Friday night. In what's that movie? Um,
Yeah, Friday. No, it wasn't Friday Night Lights.
no,
It
it was
was Any Given Sunday.
any given Sunday. He's a
Yeah.
he's a stunt double any given Sunday. So he's a character, right? The coach
Mm,
is a character, and this team has always been an offensive powerhouse. Like
mm,
if they can find anything, Tank Dale in the Houston from the Houston, he went to Alabama
right.
A&M, stuff like that. Like they find high level talent players that can come through there. So even though you might not think it's a competition or a fight, you're going to see one or two kids that you're just like, hey, they can play at this level.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is Auburn fans need to watch this game closely and then hope the transfer portal brings a couple of the standouts from Alabama A&M's game over into the Auburn coffers after the season is over with. Because
Well,
that's what happens with these HBCU teams.
yeah,
Let's be
yeah,
clear.
yeah,
P5, G5 schools go and raid the best talent from those schools and figure out how to get them over onto their roster. You just talked about Tank Dell going over to Houston. Like that's what happens is you go out there and you play these pay games. Essentially, you get paid to come and play the game, and
yeah,
then a year later somebody sees that game and they're like, oh, this guy's really good. They did well against this Power 5 competition, or Power 4 now
yeah,
competition, and we need to have that person on our roster. So um might have some opportunities to see some future Power 4 players on the field there for Alabama A&M.
yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. You guys took Shane Hooks from Jackson State about a couple years ago, a year ago, and I told you when you brought me on, I told you, I said,
I did want to give you the opportunity to get your "I told you so" in on Shane Hooks, but now
I,
is the time. Go ahead and let it
listen,
out.
listen. When I come on here, all I do is give facts, and I said he is not a number one. I said he wasn't at the level he was at. He was good, but when you're talking about having a guy and needing a guy to be a guy in the SEC, he wasn't a guy. Um, he was just going to be a good number two, maybe a number three guy that you just a big body receiver. But that's just.
Hey, listen, I'm not mad at it because you came and you told the truth, and people were like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, Shane Hooks." And I ain't gonna hold you. I watched we sat down and we watched the tape together, and I was
Yeah.
like, I think Scotty might be right on this one. He's good, he's athletic, he's got some stuff, but
He just
I
ain't got he didn't got it. Like he just don't
yeah,
got that dog that you're looking for at the SEC type production, right? Because you can be small, but if you got that dog and where nobody can tackle you and you got that aggression when you run hard and it just is a different mindset that you have to have at that level. And he just didn't have it.
yeah. Well, I mean, listen, again, we saw the proof on the film, and then we saw it on the field as Auburn fans that, it just what didn't come together for Shane Hooks. But let's talk about A&M. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what Auburn fans can potentially expect from a team. You've already said that they are an offensive minded team. Do you feel like they have the caliber of athletes on that offense that will be able to be formidable or at least put a scare into this Auburn defense when they come to town?
No.
Mm,
Flat out no. And the reason I say no is because of the instability at the quarterback position,
mm,
which they haven't had for the last 2 years. They've been changing quarterbacks like they change draws.
mm.
It's been hasn't been a foundational piece that you can just say, hey, he knows the offense. Go out there and run it. I think if that was the case, then I would have told you yeah. I would have flat out told you yeah because they have enough offensive minded coaches that have played at a high level. They could have schemed something up to put 21 to 24 points on you guys easy. I really honestly believe that. But without having that cornerstone piece at the quarterback position and not knowing who they're going to play and, not trying to be, we don't want to get the starter hurt. So we might do the backup,
Mm.
all those little type of things like that. I think that's what's going to make this game out of hand quickly and early.
I mean, fall camp starting right now for a lot of teams around the country. Is there a front runner for who's going to be the starting quarterback, as far as you know, for Alabama A&M this season?
So from the guy that I would go with that's on the roster, his name is Cornelius Brown. They call him Quad. And the kid is like a Ferrari that he can make it. He can make all the throws. He's super athletic. He's a high risk, high reward, right?
Mm,
Like he's gonna make a throw. He's gonna make a couple throws. You're just like, what? Like, what did you see there? Right? Like,
right.
but that's what happens when you have a high caliber guy who thinks he can make every throw. Now they also have a 6'8" quarterback who I think needs to be playing tackled. I mean, it's all type of situation. And then they have a guy, Xavier Langford, who has been a steady piece over the last 3 years. He's been a perennial backup, but he's came in, made some production. He was actually a player of the week on ESPN College Game Day for having over, I believe, 200 yards rushing,
Mm.
right? So at the quarterback position. So they have talent in places. It's just who will the coach decide to go with in this game. Now, I think if they go with Cornelius Brown, I think you'll see what I'm talking about if you see him on the field. The kid's just he's a lightning in a bottle. But we'll see. I'm not the coach.
Yeah, Cornelius Brown, the fourth QB there for, according to the A&M roster here, 6'5", 210 junior from Calera, Alabama, transferred in from UT Martin. It looks like so. Looking forward to seeing what that happens. So, as far as the offense is concerned, though, who are the playmakers for this team? On it, is it a bevy of wide receivers? Do they have a running back that's dynamic? What's going to make this Alabama A&M offense go this season? Maybe if you don't see it in the Auburn game, but maybe you see it later on in the season for A&M.
I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Donovan Eaglin. Now, I will be surprised if he makes it past the first quarter because he is their guy. He's the star running back. He came from Michigan State a year ago, ran over 1,000 yards in the SWAC, bringing them back. And I think he is going to be the workhorse if they do decide to make the game a game. Jacoby Hewitt as well as wide receiver, special, dynamic, quick guy, shifty. He can play the slide, he can play outside. He's their go-to guy at wide receiver. The other guys have kind of changed over the past couple of years, so they're still trying to find that number two guy. But those are the two guys you need to be very much worried about when you're talking about playing this game. Is Donovan Eagle and Jacoby Hewitt on the offense side of the ball, in which I believe Cornelius Brown will be the distributor of the football.
Okay. Now we know specifically in when we're talking about big boy football that it really comes down to the trenches. Does Alabama A&M have the offensive line to be able to compete in this game. Now, you said pretty adamantly you didn't think they have the athletes, but do they have the guys up front that can make it interesting?
They have, you know what? Funny enough, you say that offensive line has been a strength of theirs for a while, and they have a left tackle, Carson Vincent, who is G5 Power 5 capable, right?
Mm.
Like he's a solid tackle, you know what I'm saying? So, and he's been starting for the last 3 years at the position. So, he's the lead guy on that, and they've always gone with the. When you're a spread team, you don't get the heavy, beefy boys, but you get some agile guys who can slide and move
Right.
and pull and do all those type of things because of the creativity of the offense. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see the offensive line and how they block it up looks a little different, right? Like a lot of trap blocks, a lot of quick stuff that you're just like, oh, we don't see this very often, right? You see more of a zone and all. No, 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 no. You're going to see some pulls, some backside blockouts, some kickouts. You're going to see all type of things with this offensive line because that's how creative this team can be, as well as for the coaches.
Okay. All right. Well, definitely looking forward to seeing what Alabama A&M is able to produce offensively out there in this first game of the season. We are in here with my guy Scotty from Off Script, talking a little all about the season preview for Auburn versus Alabama A&M. Already talked pretty heavily about the offense. Let's flip it over to the other side of the football for A&M and talk about this defense. Do the defenders out there on the field have an opportunity to slow down an SEC offense that's going to be coming at them?
Are you guys really an SEC offense? I
I,
mean, let's be. Let's be real.
hey, listen,
Let's keep it a
don't
buck now.
listen. I understand why you're saying what you're saying. I think it's gonna be different this year, Scotty. I think it's gonna be different this year. Did have you heard of Cam Coleman? Do you know who that young man is?
Is it quarterback, running back? What are we talking about?
Wide
Wide
receiver
receiver?
Cam Coleman.
Is he throwing it to himself? I mean,
Okay,
just,
hold on.
I'm just
Hold on for a second. Let me walk you through this for those
walking.
of you who are out there in the A&M fan base who might feel like Albert Cam Coleman, true freshman, but he's
Mm,
he's 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 real. He's real. Go watch some of the film from the A-Day game, and you'll see in a scrimmage he was still out there doing his thing.
I'm
Cam
writing his
Coleman.
name down as we speak.
Okay,
Cam, is that with a K or with a C? You know, black
C,
people.
C and
Okay,
a C. Cam Coleman.
okay. Cam Cole. All right.
Last year, Jarquez Hunter, running back for Auburn, almost 1,000 yards. Did not have 1,000-yard season. Missed the first game of the season last
Okay.
year, and still almost rushed for 1,000 yards last year for them. Fully healthy, no offseason situations for him this year. And there are two other running backs in that backfield that are capable of being number ones. But Jarquez is the guy's senior season. He is going to be a monster. He was voted almost unanimously by the SEC media as first team All SEC preseason at running back. He is
Okay.
coming back this year for Auburn.
Okay.
The question mark is going to be whether or not this offensive line, hold on, I'm going to get there. Whether or not this offensive line is going to be better. You have Dylan Wade, who moved into a more natural position. He was playing tackle last year, is now going to be playing guard.
Okay.
And you picked up a tackle from Mississippi State last year who's going to be starting. So you have a more natural tackle and a guy who was playing tackle, playing at his more natural position at
Guard.
guard. So your offensive front is good. You've got your red shirt, or actually, excuse me, he's a sophomore. He did burn his red shirt last year. Connor Lew at center there. Half of your offensive line looks tremendous. Jeremiah Wright is the other guard. He's a mauler. He has been a beast for a few years, been dealing with some injury stuff, fully healthy going into this season. The only question mark for me on the offensive line is whether or not Tutal Miller out there on the other tackle is going to be ready to take that next step. He was a JUCO transfer last year. Now, the biggest question mark of them all is the quarterback position. The issue with Peyton Thorne has been he just hasn't really felt comfortable in the way the offense was. New offensive coordinator this year, more unified vision of what they want to do from an offensive standpoint, and he has bigger targets at receiver, which help with the fact that he kind of is just a F it, he down there somewhere type of quarterback.
Go get it. Help me out. Go help me out.
Yeah. So, but he's got guys that can go get it this year.
Okay.
Out there. Keandre Lambert-Smith came over from Penn State. Transfer wide receiver is going to be out there on the outside. We just talked about Cam Coleman. Perry Thompson, another dynamic freshman that's going to be out there for him. He still has Rivaldo Fairweather, one of the best tight ends in the SEC last season as far as pass catching is concerned. He's got some big targets to throw the ball to. This offense will be better, mark my words, this season. Will be better. How much better is the question, right? But they will be better than last season.
Listen, I can be hungry, and if you put some crumbs in front of me, I'm not as hungry as I was before.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't think it's
I,
gonna be crumbs this year, is all
I'm
I'm
just
trying to say.
saying. I'm
I
just
I
saying.
think it's gonna be an average SEC offense. I don't think they're gonna be, Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel, uh, Eli Drinkwitz type of.
Got you.
But
Flying around
yeah,
and the
yeah,
ball.
but
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's gonna be an offense where I think consistently can put up mid-20s in the SEC versus those defenses and may smack a couple of people non-conference and put up like 40 or 50 in the game.
Non-conference though, really. Anyway.
I'm talking about non-conference like Cal, like the P5 non-con.
Oh,
You know
okay,
what I'm saying? I
okay.
think that they could put up like 40 in that Cal game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know me. I'm gonna be texting though. You know, I'm gonna be.
Listen, trust and believe. I got them text messages last year. I already know what's up. If it happened again, I know I'm just like, man, put this on Do Not
Listen,
Disturb
I'm
real quick
gonna
with
keep
this
it a
guy.
buck with you, man. Listen, you could have a Pop Warner offense, and Alabama A&M don't never have no defense.
Mm,
Alabama A&M is like the Olay of defense. Like it's just
mhm.
like what are you trying to? It's like one of those teams like, hey, you know what we've been practicing. Oh, let's go try that.
Yeah.
Like that it like
So what you're
they
telling me is if Auburn scores 60 in this first game,
I
don't get too excited.
don't get
That is a
don't get
mirage.
it is not do not believe it. They listen. Alabama A&M have gone through 4 defensive coordinators in 3 years.
Mm,
I'm gonna
that's a
say it
lot in 3 years. I
I'm
ain't
gonna
gonna
say
hold
that
you.
again. And they fired one mid-season, brought up another guy. He didn't even make it through. Hey, you ain't even about to get the job. So let's. I want to be very like the guy. This DC just got here this year.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's been bad. I mean, really bad defensively. And the guy they were giving up 37 points last year in the SWAC, right? So it's
So
listen.
little hope that by game 1 of this next season that they fix that.
No, listen, I don't care who they brought over. Like unless you got freaking Nick Saban as a consultant, that defense is trash. Okay, because it's been trash, and they don't have a philosophy of defense. That's not who Conor Manor is.
Mm,
He is an offensive. He's a former quarterback. The OC is a former quarterback. The quarterback coach is a former. Like it's the staff is full of quarterbacks.
right.
So they trying to put up points,
Obviously, they
right?
trying to
So
throw it around the yard.
they trying to put up points. I wouldn't be surprised if they put up 21 to 24 on y'all. If I'm being honest, like that's just how I feel about offensively if they go the right direction and what it could look like. And I think if they do that, they're gonna call the horses off and just say, hey, cool, we good with putting up 21 or 14 or 17 against Auburn, whatever. But defensively, the guy came over from South Carolina State. Um, Last year, South Carolina State, they started off pretty rough, but at the end of the season, they got better. So we'll see what he looks like with this A&M defense. And a lot of their playmakers from last year, who were actually pretty decent, they're not there. They transferred. They a lot of them transferred out, and a lot of them graduated out. So it's going to be a brand new Alabama A&M defense. But what they've always had some good D tackles and D
Mm,
linemen. So be
okay.
very mindful. They usually get some good D tackles and D ends that are impactful. But corner play, them jokers ass,
Mm.
straight
Well,
ass.
I mean, listen, that will hopefully instill some confidence in the wide receiver quarterback situation for Auburn going into that first game. But again, we don't want to fall for the fool's gold and start thinking, oh, Auburn's back just because they put up 60 against A&M in week 1.
Facts. And listen, if your quarterback doesn't have something over
I'm about to
70%,
say that's the other portion of this. If the quarterback doesn't play well in this first game,
listen,
it's
if
time to
he
sound the
don't,
alarm.
listen, if he don't put up, he needs to have at least a completion percentage of 70% or above.
Mm,
For real. Like that would be my standard for him. Like, bro, if you can't get 70% above over this, yeah, something we not doing something right.
mm, mm.
That's it. I'm just keeping it a buck with you.
Listen, this is the stuff that we need to hear so that you go into the game with the right kind of mindset of what you need to be looking for out of that first game. And because you have to temper your expectations because it's so difficult to gauge. Like, is it, oh man, your offense is that good, or no, this defense is really that bad, or you don't really know what to say because you're playing against the inferior competition. So yeah, you're out there dominating them, but once you go play somebody for real, like, but so what I'm hearing is if the defense plays well and really shuts it down, you can feel really good about where your defense is because they've played a disciplined game against a team that knows how to put up points.
Yeah,
Maybe not have the same kind of athleticism that you do, but they've got enough offensive minds that they should be able to do something against you.
absolutely.
If you're able to shut that down, feel good about where your defense is going into that season. Conversely, offensively, if you're not out there putting up those points,
Oh,
go
Lord.
ahead and start sounding the alarms of like, hey, we might need to, one of by land, two of by sea this thing and figure out who's gonna come bring us some help. So I
No, that's a great synopsis. That's a great encapsulation of it all. It's just that, yes, that's exactly how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if you guys double Jacoby Hewitt and make the quarterback go somewhere else with it. That makes sense because he's their best player. You're like, "Oh, okay, cool, this is what we would do." But offensively, you're going to see some plays. You're like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it's some trick plays, some end arounds, something creative that is going to make you be like, oh, that was actually a pretty dope play, right? Because that's just what they do. I mean, I see it every year. They come up with some plays. I'm like, hey, that's pretty tough, right? So that aspect on the offensive defense, agreed. But your offense to their defense, yeah, it needs to be. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it needs to be 40 by halftime for real,
mm,
for real. That's how I would. Seriously, I'm so serious. Like, it needs at least to be 35-0. I mean, not zero, but at least 35 points in the first half, at least.
okay. All right. Well, that will let me go into that game with some definitely better expectations of what I should see. But we're gonna revisit this conversation as we get closer to game week because by then A&M will have named their starter, so we'll have an opportunity to know who that guy is going to be behind center. I can't even say under center no more because people don't really take snaps from under
Yeah,
center
that's
anymore.
fair.
It's shotgun for the vast majority. But the guy who's going to be behind center there for A&M, and then some more probably too deep, we'll know kind of where those situations will be for the team at that point in time. All right, well, good conversation, man. Scotty, always bringing the heat for us to make sure that we are informed about all things going on with the HBCU situations. Tell the people if they don't know, if they want to get more engulfed into that HBCU culture and some great sports content, tell the people how they can find you.
Man, you guys can find me on YouTube at Offscript TV, Offscript in the YouTube search section, as well as Twitter and Instagram is Offscript TV as well. So come on over, man. We talk a lot of stuff. We talk a lot of stuff. And if you're emotional, don't come over there. Save me the headache.
That's what's up, man. Always appreciate you, my guy, Scotty. Well, you know who
Always.
we are, man. We're the War Report out there everywhere you're listening to the Auburn Express podcast. I am your guy, Ike Jones. You can follow me at TWR Ike Jones. The War Report on all social medias out there as well. But we're out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.